had several interviews with market magazines at that time and made some rather astounding predictions, saying, the price of soybeans will go to such and such a price on or before a particular date. And the story goes that Gann made these predictions. People followed the markets. We got right down to the date in which he said beans would go to such and such a level. They opened way far away, and then in the last 10 minutes of trading, the price would zoom to that particular mark, and his forecast would be exactly accurate to the minute. Not to the day, but to the closing bell. So an uncanny ability to call the shots in the markets. He apparently made several fortunes. There's some interesting speculation as to what happened with Gann's money. And one of the things that did happen was there were changes in the tax laws that made it less profitable. Especially after the crash of '29 and the Great Depression, there was much more regulation in the markets, and it made it less profitable to simply be a trader at that time. And so that's when he turned more to writing books, explaining his methodologies, selling courses. He would sell his trading analysis course for $5,000, which was more than the cost of the average home in those days, you see.
Can you tell me, did you ever find out whether Evangeline Adams forecast the Depression? Because she was, they had her like as the financial advisor to J.P. Morgan.
Right.
And she was advising people and her clients to buy, which was smart advice during the early part of that year.
Right.
Before October, I guess it was, when the market crashed. I was wondering, was she able to, there was a story on this, and I didn't hear the part, like, in the month or so before the crash. But she was very accurate in predicting the rise in the market, which apparently before the crash it just rose. I mean, it was reaching the ceiling.
This is one of her series of sun sign books. She did books on sun signs. This happens to be for Leos, and she published this in 1931.
Oh, wow.
And this is what it says at the beginning of the book. Evangeline Adams is the world's best-known astrologer. Her ancestors played an unforgettable part in the fight for American freedom. 2 of them signed the Declaration of Independence. 2 of them became President of the United States. John and John Quincy Adams, right? Miss Adams, in her generation, has played an important part in the fight for freedom of thought. For 35 years, she has devoted her great talents and the prestige of her great name to reviving and spreading the ancient study of astrology. Her charges for personal consultations in her New York studio are $50 an interview. 1931, pretty pricey. Right? She has numbered among her clients some of the world's most famous men and women, including James J. Hill, Enrico Caruso, John Burroughs, Richard Harding Davis, Mary Garden, William Jennings Bryan, Lillian Nordica, the late J. Pierpont Morgan, and King Edward VII. Among Miss Adams' best-known predictions are the famous Windsor Hotel fire in New York, which gave her her first nationwide fame, the panic of 1907 and all subsequent stock market crashes, the death of King Edward, the death of Enrico Caruso, and the Great War. It's estimated she has personally read the horoscopes of over 100,000 people. So that's the blurb she put in her own book in 1931, which would seem to imply that she'd accurately forecast 1929, but I have not run across material from 1929 prior to that to see, exactly how she did that, whether she did it in print
I guess she
or
did.
what have you.
Because they mentioned her on a documentary. They had on the stock market, and the crash was on the History Channel or something.
Now, she was not exclusively a financial astrologer.
No.
It worked primarily with natal astrology, used some very interesting techniques. And essentially what she would do would be to set up a chart for the transiting planets and erect a chart for the time of the consultation, and then place the individual's natal planets around the transiting planet as if they were the transiting planets, and read the chart kind of inside out. And some interesting techniques there. I've played with that same kind of approach when I've had to do lots of rapid back-to-back consultations.